The next thing my daughter and her friends are going to need to play D&D are some minis. So I am going to try prepping and painting some for them to use in our campaign. It's been a long time since I painted D&D minis, so we'll see how this goes. I started out by cleaning all the minis with a simple detergent solution, and I set them aside to dry while I gathered up some supplies. The next thing to do is to remove any mold lines and imperfections in the minis with an X-Acto knife. Next up, I glued all of the minis to their bases using super glue. Some of them had square slotted bases that they had come with, and some were round. I'm gonna have to order some other bases for the future. I then decided to texture the bases with some sand and rocks before heading outside to spray them with a can of gray primer. A couple of these minis had transparent parts for their magic spells, so I primed those ones with a brush. I then mounted some of them to corks with double-sided foam tape to make them easier to hold when I was painting them. For the skeletons, I tried a couple of different techniques, one starting with a dark wash base to fill in the crevices, and then gave it a semi-dry brush with bone color. The other one I just painted with the bone first. It worked pretty well. I then started in on the other minis, first mixing a skin tone color, then moving on to the other larger color details. For the magic spells, I used a very watered down color to keep some of the transparency in the plastic. Once I was done with the larger group of colors, I started in on the fine details. Now, using these cheap craft paints from Walmart and Target, it proved rather difficult as they were pretty gummy and didn't want to flow very well. Several times I had to unclog the nozzles. I think next time I'll follow Black Magic Craft's advice and get some good quality paints made for painting minis. I think that would make the process much easier. After the minis themselves were done, I painted the bases, starting with a brown base color. And then adding some gray dry brushing. And I finished with black around the edge of the base. I then used my clear fingernail polish trick to put a gloss finish on the parts I wanted to shine, like metal and leather. I'd also picked up this wolf pack that I wanted to paint, so I mounted them on bases and primed them in gray. I then started several layers of dry brushing to build up the fur. I used white, some yellow and light brown, gray, and finally black. I decided to make the pack leader a much darker black than the others so he would stand out. I then added the sand and rocks to texture the bases and painted those too. And now, we had a whole set of minis to play with. I'm not thrilled with how they turned out. The cheap paint was hard to work with, but they will work. Click on subscribe to see what other crafts I make for this D&D craft series, and thanks for watching.